Okay, family, welcome back to the podcast. Today's going to be very fast, but I just want to talk about 5 things we need to say about race and culture. And sometimes I cannot believe we're still having these types of conversations, but here we are. And I think if it's still buzzing, it's because it is important. So, race, culture, another couple of viral moments that I witnessed over the last few days, another internet fight, and it just here I am feeling the urge to say something, but also kind of exhausted like everyone else by the whole thing. So I thought I would come here and share the kind of reminder that I would want if I was caught up in the heat of it, if I was feeling very conflicted and emotional. And just these 5 things that we need to say about race and culture, whether you're black, white, somewhere in between, or honestly, if you're just tired of it all, just hear me out. Bear with me, hear me out. It's just a thought. Okay, so I was kind of perusing the internet as I usually do on the weekends, and I came across a question that really not triggered me, I would say, but I had to kind of sit with myself and think, man, are we still doing this? And the question was from of course, mostly United States state of things, but the question was, is black culture ghetto? You heard that right. Is black culture ghetto? And it stemmed from a whole lot of conversations that I will not get into today, and people mentioning that, they have black fatigue. And so that's where the question comes from, which is black culture ghetto? And I want to offer 5 thoughts, 5 things, like I mentioned, that I think we need to say about culture to be reminded of what culture is and isn't, what race is and isn't, and also how to be wise about all of this, because this channel is all about wisdom. Which gets me to, if it is your first time here, welcome. I'm very happy you stopped by. This will be a very quick one, but I am Gigi, and on the channel I like to do and talk about everything wisdom, everything culture, everything just good living, wholesome living, and wisdom. So if that feels like that could be something for you, do stick around, hit the subscribe button. We also talk about faith, of course, and how to live our faith in 2025. We talk about why I think God is real and Christianity is true. So I put myself and you to the challenge of kind of comparing whatever is out there with the truth of God. And this also brought me to culture and race and people asking themselves if black culture is ghetto. So let me tell you why I think personally that this question or this statement, because sometimes it's posed as a statement, is weird. It's a weird way to ask something. Number one, the first thought that I want to share is that not all skin folk are kinfolk. This is very much common in the United States. People say this a lot, but it is true. Just because we share melanin degrees or melanin levels with somebody does not mean that we share the same mindset, that we share the same experience, that we share the same wallet, that we share the same spirituality. Just because we have the same skin color does not mean we are the same person. And to ask if black culture is ghetto, to me, is to insinuate that to be black is one experience, like the same. And I want to remind everybody that being black is a skin color. It does not always mean being African American in the United States. And also, being African American in the United States in 2025 does not mean that people grew up in the same house or in the same neighborhood or in the same church or with the same 2 parents or the same 1 parent or this. It does not mean a whole lot. And we need to understand that culture is layered, okay? And assuming someone's identity based on a skin tone, it could be true, right? We're not denying that people living in the same country with the same skin color can have the same experience. But assuming that somebody's whole identity is based on their skin tone is a mistake all of us can make. And I think it is lazy. I think it's intellectually lazy. And I think it's socially dangerous. And so the tribe that somebody was born in or out of, the skin color they were born in, does not always mean what they vibe with, for better or for worse. And that is okay. We don't all have to be the same to be able to stand in solidarity. And that goes for Black people, that goes for white people, that goes for any other race/ethnicity on this planet. And so, again, I think the question is weird, because what is Black culture? Really, I don't know if we can define it. The second thought I want to share is that culture should not be our master. Okay, we get to choose what we want to carry in 2025. We don't have to defend everything that gets labeled as our culture. This goes for race, this goes for sex and gender, this goes for spirituality. There's so many things that when you're walking down the street, for example, and you are a woman and you hear sometimes conversations saying, oh, women are crazy, women are so emotional, women are this, women are that. And you have to sometimes stop yourself from saying, what is that kind of statement that you're making? Not all women are the same. Or if you're walking down the street and you're a man, or if you're walking down the street and you're Muslim, if you're walking down the street and you're Christian, people would try to label you and put you in a box that you kind of feel like you have to defend, but you don't, because you are also an individual. And again, we don't have to defend everything that is labeled a certain way, because the labels can be, like I said, intellectually lazy and dangerous. And so we have to kind of think, and we also don't have to reject it all either, right? We can, as grown adults in 2025, pick and choose how we want to live our life. And that is true privilege. That is the right way to look at how blessed we are in the circumstances that we're in. We can choose how we want to live our life, by which standards, by which principles and values, and work our way towards that. So let me bring it home a little bit and open up the wisdom from the Bible. Let's quickly look at 1 Corinthians in 10:23, where it says, I have the right to do anything, but not everything is beneficial. Or in some other, translations, it says everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. And it's a constant reminder for me when it comes to being a wife, when it comes to being a woman, when it comes to being a Black person. I am not Black American, but I am Black of skin, right? I'm Black Canadian and I'm African Canadian. And so it reminds me every single day that everything can go, right? Everything goes in this world, but not everything is beneficial to me. Not everything is beneficial to people that look like me. Not everything is beneficial to people that sound like me. Not everything is beneficial. And I get to use the brain that God gave me to think about what I can do for myself, for my community, for Black people, for white people, for my neighbors, geographical neighbors, for my kids, for people back home in Africa. I get to choose and decide what I want to be. That is the true blessing that we have, most of us in the Western world, and most of us who still have 2 legs to walk, 2 eyes to see, a brain to function. And so not everything builds us up, and we need to ask ourselves individually, does this trend, does this behavior, does this mindset, does it grow me? Does it help me grow? Or is it just popular? Or do I just feel like I have to feed into it? Because popularity, or something that is largely, recognized as our culture, does not always mean powerful and good. And sometimes it just means that it's the status quo, but you get to choose what you think is right for yourself. Number 3, I think that this term that I keep seeing on the internet, called black fatigue, which on one hand, it's supposed to mean the exhaustion that comes from always having to explain ourselves or themselves, defend ourselves or themselves, absorb everything, the pressure of just being a black person in this world. And on the other hand, now, recently, it kind of means being tired of black people, being tired of black culture. And I'm laughing because there's a whole term for black fatigue that should say something. And let's kind of think about what that could mean. Because the term black fatigue, whether it means for the person who's using it, the exhaustion that comes from just being black, I think this needs to step back to understand the point number 2 that I made and the point number 1 that I made. Not everybody is the same, and culture should not be people's masters. Let's just normalize calling specific things what they are: behaviors, trends, principles, values, ways of living, without necessarily turning every single thing into a full-blown culture war or race war. The world does not need more of the noise. It needs more clarity, and of course it needs more intelligence and compassion, and also critical thinking. So let me zoom in a little bit. Behavior here is the problem, not race. That's my only answer for all of these questions. Is black culture ghetto? Do we have black fatigue? The behavior sometimes is the problem, not the race. And so if we fall into the trap of defending or attacking entire races, right? That's a trap. We're never going to get to the end of anything doing that. So we need to talk about behaviors. We need to praise good behaviors and ideas and systems and trends, and identify and let go of bad behaviors and ideas and systems and trends that are dragging all of us down. And those exist in every single quote unquote racial culture, every single race, every single ethnicity. It exists everywhere on the globe. And so my push for you, my message for all of us, my reminder for all of us is that we need to start talking about behaviors and not necessarily races. And so if we are, entangled in behaviors that are to mock other people or to glorify destruction or to celebrate division, that's what we should be calling out, right? Not the skin tone, not the ethnicity. A bad fruit is a bad fruit no matter who is planting it. I just want us to remember all of that. And a good fruit, a good fruit is a good fruit no matter who's planting it. And the more we put ourselves into these boxes, the more we put our neighbors into these boxes, the more we try to defend concepts that are too vague, we're just pulling everyone down. That's my lecture of the situation. That's my reading of the situation. Lecture is in French, pardon me. Okay? And so I want to call all of us, and this is my thought number 5, because I said it'll be quick. So we need to be a culture influencer and not a follower. Let me explain. We don't need to necessarily have a major platform to influence culture. We just need intention. And whether it is at home or at work or at church or in the streets, we are now responsible, if we accept the mission, of setting culture every day, and to ask ourselves, what am I creating? What am I allowing around me? What am I encouraging? Where is my attention going? Who am I giving my energy to in terms of hanging out with, reading their material, listening to their stuff? What am I being in approval? What am I approving in my life? What am I pushing for? And what am I allowing? Is it good? Is it bad? And let me remind everybody that we can change. Everybody, whether you are black, white, in between, when we identify that a behavior in our lives or a trend that we allow to impact us or a way of being with our families and friends and spouses and work and all of that, when we identify that something isn't right, we have the choice to change. We have the space to grow and to change. And if I may plug what I always do plug, that's what God offered and offers to us every day, is to be new creatures, is to be born again, is to choose the good side of things. And everything good comes from God. And so John 17:21 says, may they all be one, Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. And Jesus here was talking about they being us, the world, the people. May people that follow him, people follow Christ, be all one and not be necessarily, and now I'm adding on my own opinion, but not be divided by things that are not, what is the word, immutable, things that can't change. Your skin tone is what you were born with. We have no merit but also no condemnation for being born a certain skin color, but we can have merit and or condemnation for the choices we make every single day. And so I believe that we need to remember all of that we can be one if we decide to praise good behavior and just denounce bad behavior. Not good race, bad race, good racial culture, bad racial culture. So those are my little reminders, 5 things that we need to say out loud, according to me, of course, about race and culture. And you know what? I think the most important of all is to remember that culture does not have to be tied to skin color. And as long as we play this game, everybody loses. And so let's be the people who rise above attacking or defending groups necessarily and start naming what is actually good and what is actually not, with love and with boldness. And let's get rid and grieve of the things that divide us and embrace the things that lift us all higher. Be a culture shifter, not just online. Of course, it could be online, but not just online, but in real life. And remember that the world is already watching. So, to finish this all off, if you liked this, if this made you think, you can stay here. You can hit subscribe so that we can stick together. You can also connect with me on Instagram and Facebook. All the same name handle. I decided to be a little bit more consistent on there. I post little thoughts and some, little wisdom thingies out here and out there. And so if this episode hit home, or if it made you think of somebody that needs to process all of this climate that we're all in, share it, send it to them, and they might need to hear it. So we're all in this together. Let's make everything better by choosing in our specific lives, to invite wisdom and invite truth and clarity and critical thinking. And so I don't know if Black culture is ghetto, but I do reject that question because it's so weird.